Hi, I'm Jeff Ray, your host for Economic Outlook. Each week we discuss the region's most important economic development initiatives with a panel of experts. LaPorte has recently captured the attention of the state and nation with the announcement of a new $1 billion Microsoft data center plan for the community. But there's so much more to the story of the economic resurgence happening across this vital Northwest Indiana county. We'll sit down today with experts for an inside look at key projects on the horizon in LaPorte. LaPorte is rising with recent announcements of significant investments that will drive future economic growth. We're showcasing LaPorte and LaPorte County today and diving deeper into the projects you should know more about and the places you should plan to visit. LaPorte Mayor Tom Dermody and Bert Cook, the Executive Director of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership, are joining me for that conversation. Welcome, gentlemen.
Great to be here.
Hey, good to see you. We've got lots of good things happening over your way. Wanted a chance just to dive a little bit deeper into it today and give our viewers a chance to understand more about what's going on. Mayor, I'm coming your way first, and so again, great to see you again. Thank you for being here. I noticed on the calendar you've got your State of the City coming up here pretty soon. That's always a great chance to kind of give a snapshot of what's going on. Can we have a sneak preview? Tell our viewers what the state of the city is over in LaPorte.
Absolutely, and we like to do it at the end of the year because we believe so many things to share and to talk about that are positive in our community. And obviously, thanks to people like Bert Cook from our economic development team, everybody's heard about Microsoft and the great news there. But we've had annexation that's allowed for great development to happen, not only industrial, but from a housing perspective, and LaPorte is no different than many communities across this nation that we need housing of all types. And I think we've got a great story to tell, from habitat to humanity to higher end housing and everything in between. And I think the key is quality of life. Just as I've heard you mention many a time, the quality of life in LaPorte, developing different things that'll bring people here and allow them to live a great life, raise a family, and earn a wonderful living.
Boy, we've seen the fruits of both of your good labor over there, and so congratulations on your success. And so, Bert, let's come your way for a second. So let's start with, if somebody's not familiar with the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership, talk to us a little bit about what you do there.
Yeah, so appreciate the question, and we're very proud of the work we get to do each and every day in LaPorte. So I have a great team of people that makes up LEAP, as we call ourselves. We're a combination of the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Organization that represents the city of LaPorte, about 450 members from across the greater LaPorte area.
Great, and so the mayor touched on it, and maybe if both of you will talk a little bit more. Let's talk Microsoft a little bit first, because Microsoft obviously is garnered the attention of a lot of folks given the large capital investment. It's part of this data center trend in Indiana with Google in Fort Wayne and AWS in South Bend and Meta down south and stuff, but you've been fortunate to get Microsoft over that way. Bert, why don't you start with talking a little bit more about Microsoft?
Yeah, so incredibly exciting project for our community. I think when you look at that project in conjunction with some of the projects that you're working on here in St. Joe County, I think it really becomes an amazing thing for the state of Indiana, but for the northern part of our state in particular. Microsoft has been a wonderful company to deal with right from the beginning. Very community-minded and very cognizant of what this means for the city of LaPorte, for LaPorte County, and for Northwest Indiana. So they are intending to build a data center similar to what's being built here with Amazon. About $1 billion capital investment, and about 200 employees will ultimately staff that facility once it's built. I give the mayor, our city council, a lot of credit because they had the foresight to proceed with some annexation and some zoning issues that maybe existed in that area. And that really paved the way for Microsoft to not only make the decision, but to easily enter our market and to kind of move a little more quickly than some of the other projects that we've seen throughout the state.
Mayor, let's come your way, because your peers across the country would love to have a project like this. Talk to about it, what this means to a community like LaPorte to land an investment like this.
Well, when I came on board day one, we talked about competing with the best and have high expectations. And they asked, did you ever think Microsoft would come here? And we said yes, because that's where our belief system is. We have a fantastic team, and our residents deserve it, and especially with those high-paying jobs, whether from a tech perspective, engineering. You know, we've committed to be the engineering capital of Indiana in LaPorte, and this is going to help drive that. But what I really like with the partnership with Microsoft is they are very committed to the school system and improving our schools. And LaPorte Schools is a wonderful system, but we can definitely make strides for the future. And I think with the help of Microsoft and their commitment, we're going to start seeing great improvements.
Great. Mayor, I want to stay with you for a second. Bert mentioned, and you as well, that like it takes a lot of people to get a project like this from the start to finish line. And so talk to a little bit about, I would say, building the coalition and getting all of the people pulling in the right direction to make a project like this happen.
That's a great point, and you just have to share, you have to be honest and talk to people, especially those that every day say we need jobs, 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 we need development. And I think for many years our net assessed value has stayed the same. We haven't had growth. Right now we're looking at population that's going to be, our goal being 30 by 30, which is 30,000 people by 2030. We've been stagnant for some 40 years, and the people that want to believe and know that LaPorte can be more are very excited, and this is a great cornerstone, but not the only job creator that has come or is coming to LaPorte, thanks again to the great work of LEAP.
And Jeff, the mayor, mentioned it, but we would, as I think you know, and your team here, projects of any size, but particularly large projects like this, require a host of different partners to get it done. So we would be remiss if without thanking the Indiana Economic Development Corporation for their work, our great partner in NIPSCO, who is supplying the energy, which is a major component of this development, as well as all of the local boards and commissions that have played a part in this project. So I know it is a team sport when we look at projects like this, and we're very proud of the team we get to work with.
Great. Bert, I want to stay with you for a second because, and you and the mayor both talked about like annexation, for example, help to set the stage, but communities are having to do more on the front end these days to have sites ready, and so talk about maybe that ahead of time work like the annexation or utility, other things that are necessary to sort of help bring projects like this forward.
Yeah, I think in the economic development world, being, so much groundwork goes into pre-project planning and being ready for the right opportunity that comes your way. So we spend a lot of time making sure that we've picked out the right sites, that those sites are in a position to be developable, that the utility infrastructure is there, that they're annexed or can be served by city utilities, and that's exactly what went on in this particular situation. Again, I mentioned the mayor, but we've got a council, a redevelopment commission that had the foresight to take action ahead of the project, which in an ultra competitive world that we live in with economic development, that at times that is the difference between landing a project and it going to some other community. So a lot of credit to that foresight. I think that was a key component of us landing Microsoft.
Great, Mayor, back your way. So Microsoft's obviously one of the most recognizable brands in the world, probably now has made a commitment to your city to make an investment. And obviously we touched on it's an important taxpayer, it's a great utility customer, a good employer, that kind of stuff. But talk about maybe the other value that Microsoft brings, like the radar screens this puts you on that you might not have been on before.
I think that's a key point, and just saying that, hey, we're a part of Microsoft, they're in our community when other businesses are looking. In fact, we laugh because it combines everything. We have probably the best high school basketball tournament of prep schools in the nation that ESPN covers, and the funny thing is when we were negotiating with Microsoft, they happened to be watching on ESPN the basketball tournament and saw LaPorte, Indiana at the center court, and all this blends together when people are looking to say, hey, where do I relocate? We're an hour from Chicago, and we know obviously what's happening in Chicago to keep pushing people to Northwest Indiana, and we sit well, and when they hear that, oh, Microsoft came here, there must be something positive happening in LaPorte, and we think it is, and between housing, between the opportunity for quality employees, this is really going to bode well moving forward.
We're going to dive into a few of those other topics, but just more quickly for you on general time frame. So when will people, obviously these projects take a long time to build and stuff, but when will people really start to notice activity?
Yeah, so Microsoft employees have been in town here for the last 8 months or so, working periodically on different aspects of the entitlement process. But we should see earth moving first quarter of next year. And I think that'll be the exciting point where people actually notice changes going on the site. And construction will then continue for a good period of time after that. But next year will be the main start of construction.
Great. Guys, we're going to take a quick break here in the studio. We'll come back and hit on some of those other topics. We're going out to the field.
I'm your co-host, George Lepignotis, and I'm downtown LaPorte today, joined by LaPorte City Council member Tim Franke. Tim, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for hosting us in your office. It's a rainy day. We were going to be outside to look at some of the things we're going to be talking about, but the rain derailed us, and so now we're sitting here comfortable and dry, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Tim, tell us a little bit about your time on the council. This is your second term?
Correct. I am wrapping up my first year on my second term, so we'll call it 5 years that I've been on the council, and I've been the president of the council throughout since I started in 2020. But we've got a great group of people within our council, and it's really been an exciting time for LaPorte.
We've often heard the adage, think nationally, regionally, but really act locally. And so before we went on air, you said something to the effect of, I have 3 kids, we are invested in this community and thought it was time to give back. Has that, your service on the city council, has it felt like giving back?
It has. I've always been heavily involved in the community. I try to serve on charity boards, donate where I can, but ultimately this is our community. It's where my family's located, and it's where my kids are growing up. So I want to do my part to make it a better place for them and for future generations.
Well, speaking of making it a better place, the city of LaPorte is a vital player in what we call our regional economy. And, we think about LaPorte, the city of LaPorte, the city of Michigan City, LaPorte County, even more broadly, are all experiencing growth in unique sectors of our economy that maybe we've never seen before. Tell us a little bit about the city and what projects it's got up and coming that might see some economic growth.
Sure. We have a lot of different projects going on, but I think the most exciting aspect is there's 3 major projects within our backyard, and they're all technology related, a sector that traditionally you'll see more, on the West Coast, but we're excited to have great partners like Microsoft coming to the city of LaPorte. What that means for us specifically is great paying jobs, and it's just going to help grow the economy and grow our community in general.
Well, that's great. When we talk about these great paying jobs, Indiana's northern economy, whether it be Microsoft here in the city of LaPorte or Amazon building a similar facility over in St. Joseph County, it seems like our economic development efforts have been rewarded, but really they come with additional responsibilities. Not just about getting the companies here, it's about creating a quality of place, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's, since I took office in 2020, that's been a huge focus for me, is quality of life, giving back to the community, but also helping grow the community. We're in a different sort of economy now where people have the ability to choose where they want to live before they choose where they work. You used to move to where your job was. Right. Now you can work from home for a lot of jobs, and people are really interested in a great quality of life, meaning who has a good park system, who has good trails, where's a place where I can see raising a family. And that's been super important for us within the city, is to create that environment and make it a better place to live.
And as we think about those efforts of creating them, it goes even more fundamental to not only great parks, not only great infrastructure, which LaPorte has in spades between the lakes and the parks and all of the fun recreation things that we know we can do here, but also more fundamental in making sure there's quantity of housing.
Yeah, we know that we have a housing shortage. I think you have a housing shortage across America. Yeah. But specifically, we had a housing study done a few years ago, and we need thousands of homes right now. And so we're making a concerted effort to grow our housing in all levels. So, your working class home up to your high end homes, we need it all. And we've got multiple housing projects going on right now. We want to continue to see more and more housing because we know there's going to be more people coming, but we need a place for them to live. So
Yeah.
that's a super important part.
Yeah, these are not problems that I think city leaders would have envisioned even 10 years ago as being what you might have to be grappling with. As you look to the successes and the challenges, what do you see the next 3 years of your term bringing? What do you think that the city council is really going to have to work to overcome or make, help make the Port an even better place to be?
Well, I think we've made great strides in the quality of life. I'm certain that you'll see some more activity there, but I'm happy with the progress we've made. Housing is something that in 3 years, we're not going to say, okay, we're good. We need lots and lots of housing. So I foresee that as being the major focus for the next 3 years. We know we've got a great place and businesses want to come here. We're centrally located in between South Bend, Chicago, close to interstates. We have a great train system. There's plenty of positives, including in the city of LaPorte specifically, fiber laid throughout, which is super important for businesses. So housing is the number one thing.
Yeah, well, and that's a great point, fiber, and the way it's changing our communities. Tim, thank you. Thank you for hosting us here today. Thanks for taking time out of your day job, but also thanks for the service you give to community. Thank you to our viewers for joining us again on another great story of why our region is succeeding and how cities like LaPorte are not only succeeding in bringing in additional business, but figuring out how they can support those growth initiatives.
All right, we're back in the studio here, guys. Thank you so much for this great conversation about what's going on. And Mayor, let me switch a little bit. Obviously Microsoft, great project. There's a lot. What I teased early, though, there's a lot more going on. And one of the things that grabs my attention when I'm over your way is your downtown. And so all the communities in our viewing area have wrestled a little bit with the vibrancies of their downtown. You mentioned the importance of quality of place. I feel like LaPorte's done a great job of keeping those storefronts active and such. Give us a little insight into your secret for success in developing downtown there.
Well, our downtown is filled with independent business owners, local people that wanted to take their shot, take their chance to be business owners, and have been very successful, from flower shops to restaurants and everything in between. And this is despite where we have a state highway running right through the middle of our downtown. And we've worked extremely hard to say, what options do we have to work with the state, to work with the federal government, to say, how do we provide opportunities for truck traffic to move to where they need to go, but find alternative routes. And I'll tell you what, we've got some new things happening that are going to happen with that. But I think you're seeing more and more families want to walk the downtown, and we're becoming a very walkable community. And I think you'll see with housing coming, where those second and third story buildings downtown can provide some housing for those young professionals that want to be close but want to be able to walk everywhere. So things are happening. We've got bike paths, but again, thanks to the quality of team members that we have that are making it happen, it's going to be a great look in the near future.
Bert, add on to this a little bit and talk a little bit about quality of place. I think economic developers are usually worried about site readiness and land and tax and regulatory environment, all those exciting things, but quality of places has become such an important piece of this discussion. Build on what the mayor had to say about why that's so important to what you're doing.
Yeah, so I think when we started, Jeff, in the economic development world, I think you would agree that there was a philosophy of create as many good paying jobs as you can and everything else will take care of itself. And we recognize that in today's world, that's not how things work, right? People choose the community that they want to live in, and then they find work accordingly. And so you have to focus on the quality of life and the quality of place in order to attract the people that we're looking to attract and to better the lives of those residents who are already here. So I think to the mayor's point, if one characteristic that is very common amongst downtowns that are successful is this pedestrian-friendly atmosphere where people feel comfortable moving throughout the downtown area. We're not there yet. We recognize that we have work to do in that regard, but I think we've begun the process of making some of those improvements, some of those changes, and then coupling that with the investments in buildings and structure and facades has really changed the aesthetic of our downtown. We're very lucky in that we have a LaPorte Urban Enterprise Association, which is a great tool that was developed by our state many years ago and allows us to maybe invest some of those dollars back into structures that are typically a little difficult to invest in.
Great. Mayor, I'm going to come your way because we've touched briefly on housing in particular, and housing it feels like such a crisis nationally. We've had a couple shows where we talked about housing. We kind of not recovered yet from the housing crisis in 2008, 2009. It's an important priority of yours as you're trying to grow your population and stuff. Talk to us, and we'll talk to both a little bit about sort of what's going on in the housing space and how you're trying to create new opportunities there.
Absolutely. So we've had a great local developer such as Mitch Ficus Builders, that built, but other than the last 30 years really hasn't been much. So we have quite a bit of catching up to do. And now that we're kind of promoting and focused on the quality of life, we have Steiner Homes, who's building his first neighborhood that was considered, he's considered the #1 builder in Northwest Indiana. We have Habitat for Humanity, plus we just announced yesterday the Park Street project with a developer and builder from Michigan and Illinois. So things are happening everywhere. But what really began, I think, was on day one when we told landlords, you're going to have standards to meet. We're no longer going to allow what's happened and you to take advantage of our community over the last 20 years. We're going to put code enforcement on you. We're going to work together with those that want to make improvements. But if you don't, there's other places you can go. And I think between all the new projects and making sure we have high standards for the current upkeep of rentals, it's all coming into play to provide offerings for everyone, for more affordable housing to those high-end executive houses and homes as well.
One of the interesting facts or statistics about LaPorte, so 80% of the homes in the city were built prior to 1980, which is kind of staggering if you think about the difference in expectations for a single family home in 1980 versus 2024. Those are very different expectations. So we understand that we have to make improvement in that area. We also have a great resource, the Health Foundation of LaPorte, which has invested in our community in a myriad of different ways over the years. Initiatives that benefit health and safety, but all kinds of other things as well. And they are now investing in our residential development. We're very appreciative of that, and I think it's provided opportunities to look at areas that maybe were more challenging in the past, and we've got a new source of funds that might help redevelop some of those areas as well.
Great. Brett, I want to stay with you for a second. So I think one of the other items everybody's wrestling with a little bit is kind of the workforce education, preparing people for the jobs of the future. You certainly have that challenge now with Microsoft, kind of a newer industry there, but overall you want to make sure your citizens are prepared for it. Talk to us a little about what's going on in the workforce space.
Yeah, so I think that it all starts, the mayor mentioned earlier about our school corporation. I think it starts there. Really pleased with the school board and our new superintendent and their focus on career and technical education, getting people the skills as they graduate to walk into jobs that are ultimately going to be very successful long term. It begins there, but we have great partners in Purdue and Ivy Tech as well that are readying the workforce for the types of jobs that are available now, and also reskilling people who maybe have the opportunity to move into a new job. It also connects to the strategy that we have in terms of what we're looking for. There was a time where maybe we were looking for quantity of jobs. It was as many jobs as possible. And now I think we've taken a stance of being much more focused on the quality of the jobs that we're attracting to our community and finding high-tech, high-paying jobs that ultimately will lead to a really strong lifestyle for many of the residents in LaPorte.
Great. Mayor, as we get closer to our end, our last couple of minutes or so, talk to us a little bit about, kind of what's ahead. You kind of have set this stage, you've got kind of checking these boxes, right, on downtown, on housing, on workforce, on annexation, some of that. Give us a sneak peek at some things that we should have on our radar going forward.
Well, I'll tell you this, and we just talked about it with our team, that we've got over $1.2 billion worth of projects that we're working on. And I know sometimes it's unique when I say, hey, we need to take a breath, let's finish what we started. And we have, when we took over on day one, infrastructure needs, water, sewer, at about $100 million of work that needed to be done, that because our infrastructure is 100 years old. We're going to continue to move forward with that. And really, we're going to take the next year or two to make sure the projects that we started are moving forward, that are going to make the quality of life, not only now, much improved, but many years well beyond Bert and myself, that LaPorte won't have to worry about this again.
And Bert, in our minute or so, talk about your focus. What's ahead for LEAP?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I would stress, partnership or cooperation in different geographies, right? We believe in this broader vision of regionality and how we are part of something larger. The Northwest Indiana Forum, which is our regional economic development group led by Heather Ennis. Heather is a great asset, a great friend of LaPorte. We've got some unique opportunities with ready dollars that potentially could come to our community. And I think we're focused on, as the mayor said, cleaning up some of the projects that we have in the hopper right now, and then turning our attention to how are we a better part of the region, and how do we attract people from a broader geography.
Great. Mayor, I'll give you 30 seconds to make the pitch to our viewers about why they should come to LaPorte.
We're going to have housing. And I mean, when you look at the new Carlisle projects that are happening, you look at the LaPorte projects, who better to provide that housing that's only 10 minutes away, and then the quality of life. You know, we're growing our civic auditorium that was never meant to be a museum. We're now having all different types of events that people can enjoy. So come to LaPorte. We'll take you around for the weekend and you won't want to leave.
Awesome. Guys, thanks for being here. Really appreciate your visit today.
Jeff, thank you.
Jeff.
That's it for our show today. On behalf of the entire team here at WNIT PBS Michiana, we want to thank you for watching or listening to our podcast. To watch this episode again or any of our past episodes, find Economic Outlook at WNIT.org or find our podcast on most major podcast platforms. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. I'm Jeff Ray. I'll see you next time.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.